Hello, welcome to my presentation on the QB Grade Me app. First of all, we will go over the normal input for all of the functions. We can see proxy1 being used, and the answer was displayed. Then we can see proxy2 being used, and this is also visible in the console where we access proxy1, and then with load balancing access proxy2. We also check for either proxy if they are working, and if they are not, then we use the working proxy. And if both of them aren't working, then we will get an error page open up to us. But this is the total marks, the classified grade, marginal fail for all of the grades combined. Then we have to distinction, how much to distinction, 50 is 22 distinction, and then 100 is distinction. Then we have average, which is just average. Now we will clear all of the modules and see the other type of display here. We can need to insert at least one grade or one module for highest and lowest. Then the sort modules as well. Total marks, this is now the functions in different languages. And we can see a dynamic message for module 1, 2, 3, 4 missing. Then we can classify grade. No marks or modules found. To distinction, name missing, mark missing, and then get average missing as well, at least one grade. Now we will actually download the data from the firebase, and this is how it works. We have a QB grader right here, firebase database, and this is basically the whole answer. These are the fields which are stored, and this is how it basically works. We can I can classify grade, delete some of these things, and then upload the data. And in the console, it will say saving text plus answer into Firebase, and that means that this part here was updated. We can see the mark 4 is empty, module 3 is empty, and the answer has been updated. We can clear all of it, and then read from database again, and there we go. I will now break some of the things. Here we have a regular input with missing names, missing everything, and also a lettered non-integer and non-numeric input. So the highest and lowest is working as intended, sort modules, and that's the network tab. Still load balancing through either proxy. Says here that df insert mark 5. Yes, the mark 5, it did not read this, and also it should say insert mark 2, mark 3, and 4, and then the module names are represented as well. Next we have total marks, which is 999, and then also the dynamic message for module 2, 3, 4, and 5, because the non-integer, non-numeric input is not accepted, and it's caught in the error handling. To distinction gives us a lengthy option. It gives us a program error that we have a non-int value, and also it says right here that the mark for module 2 requires an int, and the mark for module df also requires an integer. And then it says also the mark missing for 2, 4, 3, and 4, and then 999 is distinction, so it's working as it should. And the last we have average, which displays the average of the correct average, and also the error where it does say that non-numerical value was found for ASD and also for DFG. Next I will show you how the error handling is accepted on this page. If the metrics page was to make average or any other function throw out an error, we get this menu here that says average, encounter an error, check the metrics page, which has the automatic testing, and we can also do any other function. They basically all work, of course. To distinction, check the metrics page. Once we click OK, we will see actually that this value was changed to false because the user was notified, and we can proceed with like fixing the function and knowing why it's errored out. Next, we will go into the services page, which again works with Firebase. It's for add new functions. We click the button and we are transferred to this services hosted by itself page, which allows us to add new functions and delete them and update them. So first of all, here is the list of the functions. How it works is it reads the firebase and it ignores the errors and QB greater things because it's for other functions, but it reads all the other functions that we have here. And it does have two URLs. Two URLs are for the load balancing of the proxy. The proxy does have its own load balancing as well as the home page. And we will test out the average. We can copy the operation name, copy this URL, and also just leave one of them, and even make it different somehow. So this is how it is updated, and there we go. Average, broken URL, no URL. We can also delete it, and for the deletion we don't even need the URLs, but we can also keep them. So we click it like this, and there it is. It was just deleted from the very top, and we can also add it back in as intended. So add service, and there we go. It's green. It's being added back up again, and the dynamic proxy will use the database reading operation to read what function we should be using from the Firebase. This makes it so that the proxy does not have to be restarted, and it's a dynamic service manager that we have here. For console, again, it does, of course, show the in-depth kind of a console log, such that you could know what the program is doing. So we can add a fake value, like anything at all, and there we go. We see that the service has been added, and that's it here. And we can also, of course, delete it. About the messages, we can add the service without anything, and we can also delete it. But if we don't have any information, it does say please insert service name to be added. So there's a pop-up error handling menu for this page. Then we can also delete, and it does say please insert service name to be removed. This is another error handling for no user input. Next, we have the metrics page for testing and errors. That's the page that actually works. All of them work with the Firebase, and they do display the error if error was found during the testing stage. This button opens the metrics page. Buttons at the top allow us to do manual testing for each function. So max min, I just pressed it. It's still going from the proxy 1, it seems, and it does have load balancing. Yes, it did come back. Max min took a whole practically 6 seconds to come back in regards to 135, which is the normal time. So it's taken a little bit long for some functions to come back. And then we have the sort modules, and also classify grade. The console does give us a lot of information in regards to how functions and what functions are being tested. So here we have the time. There is automatic testing that's done every hour for a significant amount of time for each of the functions. I think it's for 1 minute each function every hour. We also have here, if I click the manual button for this test here, it does say that response status true, which means it is accessible. It is working. Time taken 133 milliseconds. The average did not have an error. False. If there would be an error, it would be true right here, and the Firebase would be updated. It is false, but I can turn the functions offline for them to be tested in a bad way. So for to distinction, I will turn off the pods. I also use 2 pods for all of my functions because I have automatic testing, manual testing, and also the front page access. They all use the function, and just to never get an error at any point. It's just for a better use case, but the function is still running, so just waiting for it to go offline so we could test and see how it's working. In the console, we can also see the time log increase in 678. That's basically the timer going through. The toDistinction function should be offline now. So if we press toDistinction, we should see proxy 2 is used for toDistinction. Didn't work, so proxy 1 is being used toDistinction because of load balancing and the proxy down error handling. And there we have the error found toDistinction, came back with a 404 status code. Last used proxy was proxy 1, and the time of the test is right here. And toDistinction, there we go, function failed. Check the errors found tab up above. The error 404, the information that's been passed in, and also the proxy used, of course, and the time. And it did use both of the proxies. I can actually press it again, and we can see that proxy 2 is used. It's not going to come back with an answer, and then in that case proxy 1 will be used. There it is, and it's also not going to come back with an answer, and it's going to fail again. And that's the load balancing. And there we go, 404. That is the metrics page, which includes all of the testing for all of the existing functions. And also, while we do have this error, if I go back, yep, there it is, toDistinction encountered an error. So on the front page, the Firebase listener is reading that toDistinction function that come up with an error. And if I press OK, it will set it to false again, and here it is actually being read through as I opened went back to the front page. toDistinction was found true with an error, and now it's false again. So that's the error handling and load balancing of the front end, the metrics page, and also I will show now the proxy. On the rancher, we can see that we have 2 URLs for all of the functions, and all of them obviously work and come back with error true because no input or wrong input type was given. But here we also have the 2 proxy URLs, and the proxy 1 and 2 are used for load balancing, and also in case one goes down, the other one is used, as we saw from the console log messages. It always switches between the 2. But what I can actually do is change maybe the URL such that proxy 2 would be technically offline. So I'll just break the URL. Now proxy 2 will be down, well, the URL at least, and that means going to, again, the front page. All the errors are false, but we will click this one, and proxy 1 is live, and next time I will try and use proxy 2, which is not working. And that means switch to proxy 1, async function started false. In the network tab, this is how it looks. Proxy 2 came back with failed kind of error, so that's why the load balancer goes back to proxy 1, and the user does not even feel it. It's still very quick at producing an answer, and it's everything is working perfectly. So proxy 2 is down. That's because we changed the URL, and this URL is no longer accessible. And that means load balancing is thrown off, and that the error handling is functional, and that's because the proxy 2 is no longer working. If proxy 2 was to break, then proxy 1 would be used instead. And I will just turn on, well, fix back up the proxy 2 for load balancing and for all of that to work now. Now that I have put down both proxies, the front end gave us the error page with an error code 404. This is the dynamic error code that's chosen based on the status code of the page of the function that the proxy accessed. It's returning us the status code of the function, the proxy itself. And when 2 proxies are down, we are met with the error page, and it shows us this error, and we can also press go back home to go back home. And Lastly, I will show just the normal functionality last time where there is no error and everything works, and that is it. So there we go, and that is the network tab with the proxy 1 and 2 up and running again. And there we go, average and to distinction, and that's a six functions we can clear, we can read, we can change it up, we can upload, we can clear again, we can read, and it's back here. That's the front end working as intended. So everything works, absolutely everything. Everything has unbreakable error handling, and everything is live for you to view yourself right now. Thank you for watching.